out the river.
Will do.
Lisa, the donkeys got out again.
On it.
Do you notice that Luisa never says no? There's a huge amount of weight upon people that are supposed to be or expected to be the strong ones of the family. And I would consider her that hero archetype, that warrior, the one that does things when no one else can, the one that swoops in and saves everything, the one that everyone looks at like they're indestructible.
And it gets worse because you won't tell me what's wrong.
Nothing's wrong! Wow, sorry, that snuck out there. What I meant was...
And that's what happens with the hero archetype, because you're the one that everyone unloads on. You're the strong one. You keep everything in because, one, it feels bad to let go of that armor, and you enjoy that everyone look up to you as that hero, that rescuer, the one that can handle it all. But it isn't true. Eventually, we all can break. There's a finite amount that we can all handle.
I'm totally fine. Magic's fine. Luisa's fine. I'm totally not nervous.
And this song perfectly embodies that feeling. When everyone looks at you like you're indestructible, like nothing can break you, you hold on to that. That's what your ego is tied to. The fact is that it's tied to your performance. It's not tied to who you are as a person. That great feeling you get by being able to put on that cape and rescue everyone, you don't feel that if you're not rescuing. You're tied to this perpetual whirlwind of performing because it's an extrinsic piece of self-esteem. Extrinsic self-esteem is self-esteem that you get from an outside source, from what other people give you, from the adoration and the compliments and the love and the attention, but it's not internal. And that means it's ephemeral. That means that without doing all those things to get it, you don't feel good about who you are as you.
I don't ask how hard the work is, got a rough and destructible surface.
So she doesn't even ask what she's expected of her. She's just gonna do it. If someone needs something, her job is to complete that. But then what happens if she needs to take a break? What happens if she can't do it? Then you end up with this fear of failure, this fear of disappointing people that she's tied to. And that hurts. It hurts our ego. It makes us feel like we've disappointed people or we're not even good enough.
I move mountains, I move churches, and I glow because I know what my worth is.
And so when she said that she glows because she knows who her worth is, well, actually she glows because of the worth that other people have placed upon her. And that causes anxiety.
But under the surface, I feel berserk as a tightrope walker in a 3-ring circuit.
And that's the thing, is that it feels so awesome to be able to swoop in and rescue people. But then all of that pressure of constantly having to rescue and be demanded and be there and feel like you're the one that's holding everything up, that's exhausting because it's never ending. When you're the hero that has to rescue everyone, you have to keep rescuing. And the more that you rescue, the more that they need you. And the better that you're at it, the more that it's expected of you.
Was Hercules ever like, yo, I don't wanna fight Cerberus?
And I love that line. When we look at our heroes, it's true. We have this expectation that they're indestructible. We look up to our heroes, even those that are in our family. For this archetype, it actually hurts the ego to be able to say that I am scared or I am worried. And so it's really hard to be able to ask for help. And when all of the other heroes in our media and the things that we look at are shown as these superhuman people that never ever falter or question or fear, it puts this huge expectation that then I shouldn't feel fear either, because if I do, that's weakness. But in the end, it's actually just humanity. That's just real, and that shows courage. If you're scared and you do something, it shows even more courage for doing it.
I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can be of service.
And there we go. That statement shows how her self-esteem is truly tied upon her performance. And that's the thing with extrinsic self-esteem. When we're trying to build up who we are as a person, whenever it's tied to your job, your money, your career, your performance, you're only as good as the last thing that you've done. And it's like that prize fighter that's never lost. You have this fear that the next time that I go out there, I might fail. And then everything about me, all of my ego is going to come crushing down upon me.
What breaks the camel's back? It's special. like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop.
The problem when you're performing and doing all of these wonderful things is that it becomes normal. People just expect it. It's not even that you're doing something superhuman anymore. It's just the norm. And so you're constantly having to do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Though you may not like to hear this, we all have a finite amount of resources. Enough drops can fill the cup so that it overflows. And that feeling that you can't stop it, that loss of control in what is healthy for you, that causes a tremendous amount of anxiety. And so you need to find ways to be able to release that pressure, to be able to make boundaries and limits so that you don't exhaust yourself and not to feel bad, because this personality type is severely prone to burnout. And then they feel bad about themselves for burning out in the first place, even though you're not a machine. And this might hurt, but you're not a superhero. And sometimes you need to just put down the cape and breathe.
Give it to your sister's older. Who am I if I can't run with the ball?
And this often happens to older members of the family. They end up becoming parentified. They have to carry this responsibility and they feel like it is up to them to make sure that the family is safe. These children become parentified and they lose their own childhood because of it, because they're spending so much time trying to make sure that something bad doesn't happen to the family. Because they truly believe that if they let down their guard, breathe, do something that's for themselves, something bad will happen. And if something bad happens, it's on them because they were the ones that were supposed to make sure that the family was safe. It's everyone's responsibility, and no one person can do everything. And I know some of you are saying, no, but if I don't, they won't be able to. The problem is that you're really good at solving other people's problems. Other people aren't going to learn from those mistakes and get better at solving their own problems. So you end up creating this system where you start to have to do them because they don't know how to fish. And now you're fishing all the time. So sometimes it's a gift to be able to let back so that other people can learn. And will they make mistakes? Yes, but that's part of the learning. And you're saying, oh, but I do it better. Well, of course you do it better. You've been practicing, you've been doing this. And even if you won't do it as good as someone else will, it's a gift for them to be able to learn, even if it's not done as well as you can.
See if she can hang on a little longer. Who am I if I can't carry it all?
And you'd say, well, why would someone do this when it's so damaging to who they are as a person, when they're always exhausted, when they're always rescuing, when they're constantly managing everyone else? It's because you get a whole bunch of secondary gains. You're looked up to. You're looked up as strong. You're looked up as the wise one. You're looked up as this person that is superhuman. It's a huge ego boost. It causes a lot of dopamine. It feels great. And often this personality type often puts themselves on a pedestal that, you know what, being good enough or just slipping by or doing enough to get by is okay for everyone else. But for me, it has to be up here. And so this personality type often does create situations where it's not good enough unless it's great or perfect. And we've already talked about how I feel about perfection. Yes, even for you.
I think about my purpose. Can I somehow preserve this?
And this personality type often won't ask for help. When they do ask for help, it's often dismissed because you're the hero. You can handle everything. Nothing ever breaks you. And so you don't really need the help that you're asking for. And because for you it hits your ego to even ask for help, you'll often dismiss it yourself and be like, yeah, you're right, I am going to be okay. Which is fine if you will be okay, but for all of us, sometimes we actually need help, even if you're the hero of the family.
Joy or relaxation or simple pleasure.
And that question that I ask people is, if you weren't constantly rescuing people, if you didn't have to be the one that was constantly caretaking and constantly the hero, how would you feel? And usually they say I would be able to breathe and truly breathe and relax and do things for myself. That feeling of release in being able to not have the worries of the world or the family or the company or your friends on your shoulders. I just have to say, donkey corns, like yes and yes. That's it. I want one. Oh, doesn't everyone?
Pressure like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop. Whoa.
And so where does this pressure come from? Now, part of it is personality type, and you could say that Abuela might be the reason for it for Luisa, but in the end, this personality type then does it to themselves. Other people don't even have to ask, and they'll be rescuing and showing up because of that internal monologue of, I have to be better. If I don't do this, everyone else is going to fail, and it's going to be my fault. So in the end, they're the ones that put the pressure on themselves. Sounds kind of blamish, but we need to create boundaries and consequences, and it's okay. You have to give yourself permission that it's okay to say no or I can't. And you can see as each scene, the pressure is getting larger and larger, and her breathing's becoming shorter and shorter. And I really feel that chest breathing even in the song. And that's what happens to us. Often in this personality type, they're not even monitoring how their body reacts to all of this stress because they're just used to being that good soldier. And no matter what, they're going to get the job done.
Watch as she buckles and bends but never breaks.
And it's really scary, right? You can see that fear as she's handling larger and larger things as more is expected of her. That fear of being able to, that fear of failure, that fear of disappointment, that fear of not being good enough inside of her own eyes and inside of everyone else's. It's really scary to take those steps and be able to say no. Often this personality type doesn't even know what to do with themselves if they're not rescuing, being the hero. And even inside of their heads, they're constantly thinking about what are the dangers that could happen and trying to solve these problems. And then who are they if they're not doing this?
No breaks, no mistakes, no pressure.
What would I say to Luisa? You matter. And you don't have to be the one that's holding everything together, that your health and your well-being are also on the plate, and everyone has a finite amount of resources. You need to start small and start to pull back so that other people can know that they also have to slowly do their part. And yes, some people will be upset at you if you say no to them because they've expected it. It's like taking candy away from someone that you've given candy to all the time. They just expect that. But just because they're upset, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Other people's expectations are not your obligations. And in the end, they'll respect you more for that, and you'll feel healthy and more well. And I really want everyone to be able to have that space to be able to breathe. So sometimes the gift that you give to yourself is also the gift that you give to others. And in this case, it would be doing less. And you don't have to do everything. And I would also say you are so much more than your gift. You don't have to be the hero, the strong one, in order to be loved or cared about. And it's okay to sometimes hang up the cape. We don't talk about Bruno, but we can sing about him. But maybe we should talk about him because you really don't want me to sing about him. And you can watch them all ad-free, sponsor-free, like all my videos on Nebula. And it's not just my videos. Nando V Movies, Medlife Crisis, Renee Ritchie, MK, BHD, Cinema Wins, and so many more. All ad-free, sponsor-free on Nebula, and bundled in for free when you sign up for today's sponsor, CuriosityStream, at curiositystream.com/Georgia Dow, or click on the link below. And right now, because you watch this channel, you can get CuriosityStream for 42% off, less than $12 a year, less than the price of one dinner out for a whole year. And that includes their thousands of amazing documentaries and series like Extraordinary Humans, just like Luisa. Meet the most amazing people on the planet. In this series, Tom Hunt searches for people with genuine, real-life superpowers, and they push themselves to the known limits of the human mind and body. And you'll be supporting educational creators directly for over 42% off CuriosityStream, less than $12 a year. And you get Nebula bundled in for free. Yes, for free. Just click on the link below or go to curiositystream.com/Georgia Dow. Clicking on that link really does help out my channel, so thank you so much. And thank you, CuriosityStream. And if you like the video, please hit subscribe.